The prayer you never said out loud. Do not leave yet. This may be the pause your heart has needed for a very long time. Not because these words are magical, but because sometimes a tired soul needs permission to stop running. Maybe nobody knows how hard you've been trying. Maybe nobody sees the pressure behind your smile. Maybe the strongest part of your day is simply pretending that you're fine. And that is exhausting. More exhausting than most people will ever understand. You answer messages while carrying anxiety. You laugh in conversations while carrying disappointment. You make plans while secretly wondering if things will ever change. Then night arrives. The room becomes quiet. And suddenly every thought becomes louder than before. Questions appear. Memories return. Worries begin negotiating with your peace. What if nothing changes? What if I am too late? What if I am not enough? But what if those fears are lying to you? What if this chapter is not your ending? What if the story is still building towards something you cannot yet see? A seed underground looks exactly like failure, until the day it becomes a forest. The sunrise looks impossible, until the first light touches the horizon. Your future may feel hidden, but hidden is not the same as hopeless. Take a breath, not the rushed kind. The kind that reminds your heart that it survived yesterday, and can survive tomorrow too. You do not need all the answers tonight. You only need enough courage for the next step. And sometimes, the next step is simply refusing to quit. Refusing to surrender your hope. Refusing to believe your worst day defines your life. Refusing to let fear become your future. Because storms are loud, but they are never permanent. Winter is cold, but it never wins against spring. Night is dark, but morning has never failed to arrive. So if your heart feels tired, rest. If your mind feels heavy, breathe. If your spirit feels empty, hold on. Not forever, just for one more sunrise. Because sometimes, the moment you are closest to giving up is also the moment you are closest to discovering that hope was never gone at all. Some burdens become so familiar, you forget what it feels like to set them down. The pressure to succeed, the fear of disappointing people, the expectation that you must always be strong. Eventually, you stop carrying the burden. The burden begins carrying you. You wake up tired, not because you didn't sleep, because your mind never did. It replayed conversations, rewrote mistakes, invented problems that haven't even happened yet. But not every thought deserves your trust. Not every fear deserves your attention. Not every worry deserves a permanent home in your heart. Some thoughts are storms. They arrive loudly. They shake everything. Then they leave. Do not build a house inside a storm. Wait for the sky to clear, because clarity rarely arrives in panic. It arrives in stillness, in patience, in quiet moments that feel too small to matter. And strangely enough, those small moments often change everything. Life has a way of convincing us that closed doors are the end. They aren't. Sometimes they are protection. Sometimes they are preparation. Sometimes they are redirection. The difficulty is that we usually learn the reason later, never in the moment. The moment only feels confusing, disappointing, unfair. But imagine reading only one page of a book, then deciding you know the ending. That is what fear asks us to do. It asks us to mistake a chapter for the entire story. Maybe the opportunity disappeared, because a better one has not arrived yet. Maybe the delay is creating strength. Maybe the silence is creating wisdom. Maybe your roots are growing deeper than you realize. Trees survive storms because of the part nobody sees. The roots. Character works the same way. Patience works the same way. Faith works the same way. The invisible parts often decide the visible future. There is something remarkable about sunrise. It never asks permission from the darkness. It simply arrives. Quietly, steadily, faithfully. The night never wins. It only borrows time. Remember that, especially on difficult days. Because difficult days have a way of pretending they are permanent. They are not. Feelings change. Seasons change. People change. Circumstances change. And one day, without realizing when it happened, You will look back and discover that you survived the season that once convinced you that you wouldn't. The pain will not disappear from your memory, but it will no longer control your future. The storm may have shaped you, but it does not get to name you. Your failures are not your identity. Your fears are not your identity. Your worst moments are not your identity. You are more than the chapter you are currently reading. Much more. So breathe, slowly, deeply. Release the pressure to have your entire future figured out tonight. Release the expectation that you must carry every burden perfectly. Release the belief that asking for help means weakness. It doesn't. Strength is not refusing support. Strength is continuing to move forward despite uncertainty. If your heart feels tired, rest. If your mind feels crowded, be still. If your hope feels small, protect it. Even a candle changes a dark room. Tonight, you do not need to win every battle. You do not need to answer every question. You do not need to solve every problem. You only need enough courage for the next step, then the next one, then the next. That is how mountains are climbed. That is how healing begins. That is how stories change. And maybe, months from now, you will return to this moment and realize something surprising. The chapter you wanted to escape became the chapter that made you stronger. The waiting you hated taught you patience. The uncertainty you feared taught you courage. And the night you thought would never end made you appreciate the sunrise in ways you never could before. So hold on, not forever, just for one more sunrise, because hope has survived worse storms than this. And perhaps, so have you. Peace be with you, and may tomorrow surprise you in beautiful ways you cannot yet imagine.